After covering almost every single show of the spring 2023 anime season, there's still one remaining show that was quite a late starter, and that is the Sacrificial Princess and the King of Beasts. Now, honestly, at face value, there's a little bit of hesitancy even jumping into the series because, yeah, let's face it, we have a little bit of a deja vu coming out of the winter season because of the Tale of Outcasts. We have cute girl who's very short, pretty much an orphan, being taken care of by a big, gruffy, mean beast. Of course, as you're watching Sacrificial Princess, you know that this series is significantly different than Tale of Outcasts, and for good reasons and bad. And it's a series, honestly, that as I'm watching the episodes, I'm really kind of wondering at what point I want to do first impressions because I'm not really getting the hook quite yet. But there is something to be said about chemistry alone. But this is my first impressions of the first 5 episodes. Yes, I had to watch 5 episodes before I finally decided to want to actually talk about this show. But let's jump right into it. Sacrificial Princess and the King of Beasts opens up with a girl named Sari who is being taken to be a sacrifice to the King of the Beasts. As we find out that there is the world of the beasts and the world of the humans. And they're kind of keeping separate. At some point there was a treaty that was passed that kept peace between the two of them, but part of that treaty was that the humans would offer a sacrifice to the beasts every now and then in order to prove that the beasts are still superior to the humans. And yes, Sari is one such sacrifice. She's the 99th sacrifice. And when she's brought before the king, before the sacrifice is done, she immediately is she's very outspoken. Despite the fact that the king's right-hand man is telling her to be quiet, don't speak up against the king himself, she just kind of speaks her mind. And isn't necessarily afraid of the king, this gigantic lioness-looking guy. And even when he comes before her and grabs her and says, "Are you not afraid of me?" she's not afraid. As we find out over time, she's always been set up to be a sacrifice, so she knew this day would come. As they're alone together, Sari ends up telling the king what her entire life was. At some point in her life, she overheard her parents talking about the fact that she was adopted for the sole sake that she would replace her sister in a sacrifice. So she was adopted and raised by this family just to be killed. And thus, meaning in her life was kind of lost at that point. Seeing these dead eyes looking at her, her parents that always seen her as a tool to save their own child. And hearing this, the king pities her. On the opposite end, Sari quickly, very quickly, diffuses what the king is. The king is very angry, very stern, very dominant. But she knows it's all an act, that he doesn't necessarily feel that way, that he's trying to look powerful, that he's trying to look angry all the time. And while it frustrates him, you get a sense that she's probably right. Well, this all leads to the day of the sacrifice. She's to be brought into this one chamber where she'll be a sacrifice. But it's there while nearly being assassinated by somebody trying to overthrow the king that she discovers the truth, that the king himself is a half-beast. On this night, he becomes a human. And with all the other previous sacrifices that he's done, he's never killed anybody. Instead, he's always spared their lives, giving them an escape route to escape. But additionally, in order to keep up the facade that he is sacrificing these people, that consuming these people, he always cuts himself to bleed upon the floor. And it's at this point that Sari, despite the fact that the king himself believes he is not a good king, recognizes the sacrifice that he has been doing for his people, for the sake of his kingdom, and keeping up this facade that he is a strong ruler. And it's in this point that she offers herself up. I came here as a sacrifice. That's all I am. I have nowhere to return to. Even if I escape, I have nowhere to go to. She gives up her entire self to the king. And in return, the king himself accepts Sari as his wife, as the queen of the kingdom itself. Which, of course, is not going to go over well because nobody in the Beast Kingdom wants a human there. You get a really quick sense that there is a sense of discrimination on both sides. Obviously, these people have been at war for a long time. There is a peace treaty, but they keep separate. Sari has seen the perspective of both sides. From the perspective of the humans, they fear the beasts. There's not a hatred that she believes, but a fear. And equally, when she does visit the beast village and her disguise is revealed, she sees the same perspective. Everybody fears the presence of a human, not necessarily hates. So it's sort of presenting this perspective of Sari being kind of the perfect person to sort of dispel and fix the divide between the humans and the beasts. Because yes, she sees that both sides has its nasty people, but equally, that both sides don't necessarily hate, but fear, the unknown. And over the episodes, we're really getting a lot of cases where Sadi herself has to prove herself to somebody. Somebody doesn't like Sadi, a human, being at the side of the king, and she has to sort of figure out some way to prove that she's allowed to be there, either by winning over their hearts or proving her own courage, or on the opposite end, just the king himself, which she names Leon, brute forcing it with his own strength. So my thoughts on Sacrificial Princess and the King of Beasts. I am mixed on this series so far, truly mixed. And like I said before, that's sort of why it's taken me so long to even talk about this show. First and foremost, I do enjoy the show. I think pretty much most all of that is the fact that I like the chemistry between Sadi and Leon. The king himself is fantastic. He's literally, he's super gruffy, he's super overbearing, he's loud, he's angry, but at the same time, Sadi always knows how to chip past that. She really quickly just breaks right into that barrier, right to his heart. Very quickly in the series, you get a sense that the two of them really love each other, and I really do like that chemistry. And it's already kind of building from that point, only strengthening their relationship as the episodes go along. Each challenge they face, which essentially is trying to break them apart, is essentially pulling them together more. Like the idea that at some point, you realize that the beast area is pretty much only beast because there's a miasma there. The miasma itself affects humans. It poisons them to the point where they'll die. And yes, Sadi being the longest person living there for quite a while, she eventually succumbs to that. And it gives you a perspective that the two of them cannot be together. But despite that, they fight to stay together. So that relationship, that chemistry, the two of them are just so fantastic. And yes, part of that is just that it builds so much contrast between the two of them. There is obviously a cute little girl, giant beast contrast thing that's happening here, and I really love that. I think it's super cute. Again, it's the very soft-spoken but very stern little girl that's able to break past that fluffy barrier of fur to get inside there and really touch his heart. It's super sweet, and I really do love the interaction between the two of them. Now let's jump into a problem that I have with the series that I'm already facing, and again, it was one of the main reasons why I waited so long to cover this show. I don't know the hook quite yet, and that's mainly because I might be missing the hook. Maybe the hook's already presented, and it's just not hooking me. Granted, this series is still ongoing, and the TV series itself that I'm watching here is 24 episodes, so it's gonna be a 2-core. So there is a sense that possibly the hook's just not developed yet. But so far, there's been way too much focus on one central plotline. Yes, you're getting the development of their relationship, but the main plotline so far is just present somebody that doesn't like Sadi being there, and Sadi wins them over. Present somebody that doesn't want Sadi to be there, beat the person that doesn't want Sadi to be there. It just keeps doing this thing where present somebody that will not accept the king being with a human, and they have to figure out some way of overcoming it or winning them over. And it's sort of getting repetitive. Now, even with this recent episode, episode 5, it's still the same concept. Anubis does not want her to be there, and so the way that he's planning on testing both push her away is making her do this summon. And again, she has to do it in order to win him over. Now, granted, she's not won him over, but I do believe Anubis is a really good character in this show, because he's sort of the one that you accept because he doesn't accept Sadi. He's somebody that truly does care for the kingdom and will do anything, even push against the king himself, and push Sadi away while not being the villain. He's the only one that's not like, oh yeah, that's obviously a bad guy. Get him out of here, win him over, push him away, whatever you need to do. Anubis is literally the one that is shaking reality into the king. Despite the king's like, no, I'll do whatever I want. I'm the king. If I want a human, I'll have a human. Doesn't matter. I don't care what you think. I don't care if it's going to create divide and outrage. I'm the king. They'll listen to me because I am king. Anubis understands it's not going to work. And yes, while his plans are causing problems, in the end, they're technically a solution to the problem, despite it not being part of his plans. Yes, he wants Sadi to summon this thing because in all cases, there's a 99.999% chance that she's just going to die. But if she does that 0.0001, she does technically have the power to stand up to people. She technically did something that she shouldn't be able to do. Other than that, yes, Amit, she was okay. The lizard princess, she's kind of cute. I love her story, wanting to win over the commander guy. That's all fine. But like I said before, at its core, it's mostly Sadi and Leon, and I wonder how long that's going to last. I really do truly wonder, based on these first 5 episodes, is this going to have anything to really keep me going? Now, there is one big fear that I have, and that is in the OP, and technically in the preview for the next episode, and that is essentially the Tale of Outcast's brother character. Yes, there is a lot of similarities between the two of these shows. There's going to be somebody that I'm assuming is going to be part of wherever Sadi came from, an orphanage that wants to save her from the evil king. And I'm like, are we going to do this arc? Are we really going to do this arc? The human boy shows up to try to save Sadi, who he always loved, and believes that Leon is twisting her heart and has enslaved her for the sake of his own needs. It's going to happen. I just know it's going to happen, and it's like, okay, yeah, we'll do that arc. Let's move on. We've seen this before. Yeah, eventually prove that no, Sadi is not there under his orders. She's there because she wants to be. We'll see. Visually, I like it. It's very simple in animation, though they do a lot of really good animation with particularly Leon. I mean, he is a gigantic beast, and you would fear that he would become just CGI, but they're drawing him well. There's a few shots of him like walking out of carriage and stuff like that, but for the most part they're doing a really good job of animate him. A lot of the still shots with him and Sadi are very beautiful. It's not an overly animated show, so don't get that expectation. It's just doing it where it needs it, and a lot of the perspective shots and a lot of the still shots of the characters together is really beautiful. And I do like the very soft color choices they did for the series. It's a very beautiful series, almost semi-artistic, giving its own unique style to it. But yeah, that's my first impressions of Sacrificial Princess and the King of Beasts. We'll see where this goes. Like I said at the very beginning, despite my frustration with it getting very formulaic with present person that doesn't like Sadi wins them over, it's got a great chemistry. I really do like the characters. Sadi and Leon really do sell me on this series, and as long as they can keep that chemistry going throughout the series and present enough stuff outside of them, I think it'll be good. But my fear at the moment is that we're already getting very formulaic and very repetitive at this point, and something needs to shake it up. And I don't need Hero Boy from the orphanage to shake that up. Hopefully there's something outside of there. The only thing I can really think of is really how Sadi herself being so presented as this party that definitely bridges the gap between the beasts and the humans, having seen both sides, can technically do that. Technically, Leon is the perfect avenue for bridging it. He just doesn't have the power to do it. He has a fear of it, and he feels himself a weak king. It's only until Sadi showed up that he has gained that strength. He believes that he's never been a good king, and it wasn't until Sadi showed up that he felt like he could give it up and technically become a true king. But we'll see. That's my thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure to hit that like button down below. Comment. Let me know what you think of the series so far. Is it working for you, or are you going to be checking it out? Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure to that subscribe button so you get all my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, I have a Patreon link, tips link, super thanks, and membership button down below. I greatly appreciate everybody that supports the channel. You guys mean so much to me, and y'all take care.